Hi, I'm Brittany
And I'm Jamie.
with Campus, and we're live in the Haven.
Joined with us today is the talented violinist and songwriter Rhett Price.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're going to play quickfire to get to know you a little better. So here we go. What's your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Great, Christmas. And where was your last vacation?
Oh man, my whole career's a vacation. What are you talking about? That's, you know what? Like, actually growing up, we never really went on vacations. We would always go to like I grew up in Texas playing like kind of country fiddle music. And so we would actually go to fiddle contests like all summer long, just like every weekend drive like 6 hours and like go to fiddle contests. Man, so I mean, like, I don't know. I played a show in Mexico in the middle of a snowstorm last winter. Obviously, the snowstorm was in Boston. It wasn't in Mexico, but yeah, that was a vacation for sure. So I would say Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Okay. And who is your celebrity crush?
That's hard. When I was like in high school, when Transformers came out, I was all about Megan Fox, which is weird because she's like you don't hear about her very much anymore. But I'll go with that. I'll say Megan Fox.
She's pretty. She is. And if you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be and why?
There are a ton of artists I'd love to work with. But I think the number one, there are two that I'm just like kind of split down the middle with, and that would be either David Garrett, who's a violinist from Germany, and he's huge. It's weird. A lot of people in the States don't know about him, but he'll go play for like 30,000 people over there, and so yeah, like he's, to me, as far as I'm concerned, he's like the best violinist alive. He's unbelievable. So either him or Miri Ben-Ari. Are you guys familiar with her? He's played with everyone from like John Legend to Kanye to, I mean, you name it. Like, she's pretty incredible. She's an Israeli violinist, but one of those two I'd love to do something with.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Man, I always ask people for advice all the time. So there probably to just not listen to anyone else. Really, not to listen to anyone else, and just to do it, just to do what I wanted to do. Which I had, several people when I was growing up, several people tell me that. And I mean, most of the people I went to high school with, they still live in that same town, and they're doing what their parents did, who did what their parents did. And it's like that kind of place, which there's nothing wrong with that if you're happy doing that. But I knew I wasn't going to be happy doing that. And so yeah, that was the best advice ever. I knew, like, no, I didn't know like how I was going to make anything happen whatsoever. But just by getting out of there and moving to Boston and spending a lot of time in Boston and New York and just going for it, it's taken a little while, but I'm starting to make things happen. So just going for it,
And what kind of music did you grow up listening to?
I go through phases, and like even from when I was a kid, I've gone through phases. And I'll be like, it's basically like when I discover, like, someone shows me some new band or some new artist that I haven't heard of, then I'll just like get so almost obsessed with that kind of music, and I'll just like listen to everything, and that's like all I'll listen to. Which right now is a little bit more into the like pop and hip hop side of things. But yeah, as a kid, I mean, just because I played fiddle, there was like a whole like range of time where I just listened to a bunch of like country stuff, and that's like my mom's favorite music, so she would just put it on all the time. And then when I moved to Boston, it's funny, because of my parents, they wouldn't let me listen to like very much like secular music. It was like some country music, and then like a lot of gospel music. And so they wouldn't let me listen to like I bought an AC/DC DVD one time, and they wouldn't. My mom came in, it was like 3 a.m, and I had it on the home computer. I was like 12 years old, I don't know, and I was listening to Highway to Hell, and she freaked out, like threw it in the trash, like, you're not listening to that. And so I got it out of the trash, and then the next night I was listening to it again, and same thing happened, except this time she like broke it. So I was like, oh, come on, Mom. So because of that, I just like, I never really got into like any like rock and roll or anything like that. And then when I moved to Boston, I went to a music college in Boston, Berklee College of Music, for a year. And they actually, this kid, I was at a party or something, and this kid said something about, he made a joke that was a reference to Led Zeppelin, and I had never heard of Led Zeppelin before. And I'm like 20 years old, never even heard of Led Zeppelin. And so I like kind of awkwardly laugh, and they're like, yeah, you don't get that joke, do you? I'm like, no, I don't. And so basically, long story short, I started listening to a lot of rock and roll. And if you listen to my first EP that I put out in January, it's so different than what I'm working on now, just because I was like obsessed with rock and roll, like everything from, I mean, that's some of like my fashion sense comes from that as well, but like I was super into rock and roll. And then, yeah, one day I started listening to, I don't know, Betty Wap, and then and then now I just listen to like a ton of hip hop.
What do you believe the world needs more of?
Love. No, I mean, that's definitely true for sure. Passion, you know, especially in what people do day to day, because everyone has a passion for something, but I feel like the majority of people, and like with like my generation, I feel like that's changing, and hopefully it'll keep changing, you know, over the course of time. But yeah, I feel like most people, definitely my parents and their parents and so on, they have a passion for something, but they never put very much time into trying to make that what they get to do every day. And I think that would make a lot of difference. I think it would make waves in the rest of society. You know what I mean? If people were doing what they did and they were happy day to day, even if they're working like crazy, if they love what they do, then that's going to reflect on the way that they do everything else, which reflects on each other, you know, and so on and so forth. The world would just be a better place.
It's definitely a domino effect. That's a great answer. And what would be the current advice you would have given the 16-year-old Rhett?
Get out of Texas. Leave now. I mean, the only thing, I mean, I don't really look back like very much and like be like, I wish I had done this or known this, because everything led me to where I am now, and I'm really happy, and things are, you know, going well, and I'm working on music that I love. But I didn't know, like, I didn't have this whole idea of like making music where the violin is the voice. Like with the original music, it's just like my covers. It's catchy and it's hooky, and basically the violin is the singer, you know? And I just I didn't even ever think of that as a possibility until till like 2 years ago, really. And so, yeah, that's the only thing. If I could go back and show myself just one video of me now and just be like, dude, just all you need to do is just make the violin the voice, and then just do you. That would be the one thing I would do. Everything else, like, I had some ups and downs throughout my career, but like that would be the one thing that if I got started when I was 16 on that, oh my God, you know, who knows where I'd be.
Oh. Well, thank you for playing Quick Fire. It allowed us to get to know you a little better, but we're dying to know, whose idea was it to learn the violin?
Okay, so my mom's mostly to blame, but yeah, she had played, my whole family's pretty musical. None of them do it for a living, but they're all definitely like musically inclined. And I was 4 years old, and my sister, she's 3 years older than me, she had been taking piano lessons just because, I don't know, my parents just, you know, I don't know, that's just like something people do. I don't know, get their kids to take piano lessons. So she was playing piano, and I don't think she really liked it, but she was doing it. And I guess one day she was practicing for a while, and then she stopped, and then she started practicing again, but she kept messing up. After like a few notes, she would just like mess up and then stop and then do it again, mess up, stop. And my dad's like, hey, you know, come on, you need to keep practicing. And it was just silence. So he's like, you know, all right, I'm going to go talk to her. So like he gets up. He's like, I don't know, in his bedroom or something. He gets up and walks into the living room where the piano was. And he said that I was on the piano bench. And so I guess I was probably like watching her fingers or something. It was probably like Twinkle Little Star. I'm sure it wasn't anything crazy, but he said that I don't know, it seemed like I had kind of figured it out by ear and was just up there playing it. So they didn't want us to fight over the piano because we just have one piano at home. So they didn't want us to be like arguing over like who gets to play the piano. So yeah, they bought me a tiny little violin, and then here I am, like 20 years later.
When did you know your purpose was in your gift of playing?
You know, it's funny because when I was in high school, when I was like 14, 15, my mom's a school teacher, and so probably way before most parents, she's like, no, you need to start thinking about where you're gonna go to school, what you're gonna do, you know. And I was just like, I could be a lawyer, I guess. Like they make money, right? like I didn't even think of music as being like a career. I just did it every day because it was fun. I loved to do it, you know, and I thought I was pretty good at it. But yeah, I don't know. Probably, you know what? Probably like after I left Berkeley, after I left college, and after I was doing it for because it went from me doing it just because it was fun to like kind of growing up. I was doing it, putting the time to practice and everything into it, just because I'm super competitive and I was doing all those contests. So I just like I want to win. So I was just doing that growing up, and then when I went to college, it was the same thing. Like you're trying to prove yourself to the other students, like trying to be the best, trying to, I don't know, get first chair or whatever, always trying to, there's always some kind of ranking. But then when I was out of school, then it was just me making music and putting up videos on the internet, you know? So it was just, there was no comparison to, obviously there are people that, you know, I'm like, oh man, you have 100 million views on your video. That'd be nice. But like, I don't know, there is no comparison. So that's when I started to, and that's when I started to get messages from people that are like, hey, I've been going through this and this and this, but like when I listen to your music, like it makes me feel way better, you know, things like that. So that, then it becomes more than just, oh, I'm listening to a fun violinist on YouTube, but like I'm listening to it because it makes me feel better, you know?
Aww, that's
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. And how do you decide which songs to remix and cover?
Honestly, it's just whatever I'm listening to. There was one exception that my manager told me I should cover Cheerleader. And he told me this like, I don't know, like 6-7 months ago. Like, I mean, Cheerleader had like, was out and it was like the bottom of the charts, like, but he's like, I'm telling you, like, this is going to be huge. It's going to be #1. I'm like, dude, it's nowhere near #1. Like, there's no way. And, but I liked it. So I was like, you know what? All right, I'll cover it. And then, yeah, it blew up. But yeah, like with the exception of that, and I do like that song, but with the exception of that song, it's whatever I'm listening to.
Okay. And it's stated that during your journey, you had to take many leaps of faith. What advice can you offer to the youth who are afraid to chase their dreams because they seem too big?
I mean, I definitely don't think there are any dreams that are too big. I mean, someone, like the way I look at it at least, someone's going to be selling out stadiums playing violin at some point in history. It might as well be me. So I mean, that's kind of the level that I'm shooting for, is that the only place big enough to hold me are just open air stadiums. You know what I mean? So where I am now, I'm happy, but I'm nowhere near like what I'm working really, really hard to get to. So first off, there's nothing wrong with having just like insanely huge dreams. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Man, as far as going for it, I mean, I always like, I asked a ton of people that are now really successful or were really successful then for advice. And basically, like, I mean, everyone from like Les Paul, who invented the electric guitar, to, you know, just like people like professors at Berkeley, and they all would give me all this different advice, and it all basically came down to if you have the talent, then it's all about hard work. Like that's literally, it's just, you're either just like thinking like, oh, I'm talented, so my videos are going to get millions of views and I'm going to blow up, or it's, okay, I think I'm talented, now I'm going to read books about marketing and I'm going to go watch full 3-hour concerts of all the biggest artists in history and figure out what they're doing right, that, you know, what are the parallels in all these different people's careers. You're going to go back and uh, these artists that blow up, you're going to go back and look at their very first Facebook post and see how they climbed, how they changed things. These are all things that I've done. If you look at all the books that I own, they're all like marketing, advertising books. I like read up and study on these things. As an artist, as a creative person, like I have zero interest in that, but that's part of putting in the work and the effort to make my career get to where I want it, you know? And so that's, I think it's all about hard work. There are obviously, I mean, there are going to be times where you're getting 200 views on your videos or less, you know, you're getting 50 views and you know that like 30 of those 50 views are you just watching it, you know, yourself. But I mean, that's if you know that, you know, if you know that's what you want to do and you think that you're good at it, then just work really hard and try to get better at it, and then try to promote yourself, you know, just try to, I think it's all about hard work, you know, and there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having crazy dreams, because, you know, the only people that become the most successful people in the world or the most well-known or whatever are the people that tried and worked really hard to get there. So might as well be you, you know?
Might as well. Do you believe that some web video stars or celebrities are abusing the power of social media?
In what way? I'm not sure. I know exactly what you mean by abusing the power of social media.
Just knowing that they have a lot of viewers, a lot of followers, they can, you know, manipulate their posts to distract youth or adults from the bigger picture, maybe what's more important in society, versus lip injections or body size or anything else that's irrelevant.
I think there's, I mean, it's a really hard question to answer because there's such an array of, you know, web stars or just stars in general. I think it definitely depends on what they're doing. If you're a reality show star, then you're bringing yourself into that kind of world, which is a different world than being just a musician, singer, songwriter. Like no one's gonna look at Ed Sheeran the way they look at Kylie Jenner. You know what I mean? It's a completely different world they're bringing themselves into, and they're creating the image that they want for what they're doing. But yeah, I don't think in general that's the case at all. I think if anything, most stars, they know that with great power comes great responsibility, and I think at that point there are people that's why you hear a lot of stories of people like even like Justin Bieber, like visiting. I can't tell you, like I've probably heard 1,000 stories of him going and visiting young fans at hospitals and things like that, you know, or Taylor Swift, you know, donating $20,000 to a campaign to help someone get their apartment back after it burned down, you know, things like that. Like, I don't know. I think that's in that area. I feel like I actually hear more about people doing good than bad. And I mean, they're obviously like, just because like the entertainment industry, you're on TV or you're on a video or you're on a stage, like you're somewhere where people are like looking at you. There's going to be like pressure to look like what you think is great, you know, or what you think the audience will think is great. So I think that's just comes along with being confident and knowing that you're, you know, not surrounding yourself with people that are going to push you to do things you don't want to do to look a way that you think the audience will like. But I think that's just a personal thing. Like I don't think I'll ever have any problem. I'm not going to be injecting anything. I know that.
How are you able to stay grounded in your purpose and stay true to yourself and not become distracted from the fame thus far?
The people around me, my whole team, they're all people that I've known for a long time. or friends of people that I've known for a long time. And so, like, I don't know, like, I always, like, I show things to, there are just a handful of people that I'll show things to before I release them. And most of the time, I'm like almost every single video I release, before I release it, I'm like, I've got to redo this. This is horrible. I need to like re-record the whole thing. I need to, like, it's so bad. And then I'll show it to, like, a few people that I trust. They're like, no, man, it's good. You know, if you changed anything, maybe this and this. But that's so different than showing it to someone that's like, oh, this is amazing, you know? And while I want to hear that about everything I do, that doesn't help me at all, you know? So whether it's a photo shoot or whether it's, I mean, I'm specific about every little thing I post. Even if it's like a selfie I put up on Facebook with a certain caption, I'll reword that caption 5 times before I post it. Seriously, I'm that guy. Like, I'll like switch around. Like, no, the emoji should be before this word, or what? Like, I'm serious. I'm like that. But I'll like I'll show it to someone and be like, you know, hey, does this sound weird? Do you get what I'm trying to say? But I think surrounding myself by people that are like, you know, they're real, and they're not fake friends. They're not friends who are friends because of what I do or whatever. They're friends just because they met me and we got along, so we hang out, you know? So I surround myself with people that are going to be real with me. And sometimes, you know, my manager, sometimes I'll show him something that I'm working, or tell him an idea. I have a weekly phone call with my whole team, and I've missed it a few times recently, and my manager's gonna be like, "Yeah, I saw that interview. You better be on the call tomorrow." But like they're always, no matter what, I throw out every idea, and they'll totally shoot it down and give me good reasons why, you know, and I listen to them. But if it was someone that's just like super into everything I do, without any kind of filter, then I would just think that I'm the greatest thing on earth, because everyone around me would be telling me that I'm the greatest thing on earth, you know? So I think that's the best way to, you know, kind of stay grounded. I mean, you can't keep yourself grounded. You can try, but you can't. There's no way. And especially especially online, people say the craziest things online, you know? So like, if you're putting up videos all the time, pictures, whatever, and people are commenting, like, I'm gonna see like one negative comment out of like 10,000 positive comments, which is great, but it's like the people that aren't liking it probably aren't commenting very often. So it's, I need to make sure to not let that be my barometer for success, but you know, let me and my team kind of do that. That was a long answer, basically.
It's good. What has been the toughest lesson to learn in the business so far?
That it's super competitive. It's so hard. I even with what I do, I mean, there aren't a lot of people that do anything close to what I do, especially with my original music. There are a decent amount of people that do covers on kind of every instrument, but I don't know. I feel like what I do is unique. The way I play, and then also the way I write music, is also unique. But the hardest part is getting started, like, because there's a certain point at which you have to pay bills no matter what. You have to eat, at least, you know. Even if you don't have a place to sleep, you have to eat, and you have to have clothes, things like that. So there's a certain point at which you have to, if you have a job that's paying for those things for you to survive, there's got to be some point at which either you don't, it'll either be like, I'm not making enough money from the art that I can put all my time into the art, but I can't quit my job to put the time into the art to make the money. So I have to keep, so there's always this balance. So there's just some point at which you just have to quit what's paying, and, or at least this is what I did. Maybe, I'm sure it's not the only way, but it's what I did. I had to quit what was, well, it wasn't even paying bills, but it was some money. But I had to quit that and just I put all, well, I actually got fired. That's a longer story. We're not going into that. But I'll tell you. But that was the best thing that ever happened to me, though. But because I got fired because I was late this is so long ago now. It's funny. I got fired because I was doing a recording session, and the manager, I was late all the time, but everyone there loved me. And so they're like, I like you, like you're fun to work with, just because I goofed off all the time. But they're like, if you're late, if you're 1 minute late tomorrow, the manager's like, you're fired, dude. You can't be late again. I'm like, I'm not. And I'm in the middle of a recording session, and I pull out my phone. I'm like, oh my God, guys, I gotta go. And I like run down the road. And I literally walked in 1 minute late. And I was like, maybe the manager's not here. And he's sitting at his desk, and he turns around, and he's like, don't even clock in. I'm like, okay. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because that was, I don't think I would have done it on my own, but that was the point at which I was able to, I could put all of my time and effort into making music and putting up videos. And even after that, it's taken like a while, and it takes a while to get started, and it took a long time to start to get enough money, to start to make enough money playing music that I was able to actually survive off of that. But being able to put all my time and effort into it, that's what was that's what made it possible for me to start putting up videos all the time. And it's been a couple of years now since then, and a lot's happened. But just being able to put all my time into it, that was the hardest part, was not making much money at all and really scraping by, kind of sleeping on benches and in practice rooms at that school and just wherever, and just like ignoring all the signs that I was an idiot and just like going for it.
Wow, that's inspiring.
And some people may mistake your success and achievements with happening overnight. How important is dedication and perseverance in fulfilling one's dream?
Oh, that's key. It's absolutely key. I think that's the thing, is you can have all the connections in the world. And going to the music school I went to, I met a lot of people that had crazy, crazy connections just because their parents are professional musicians. And a lot of them, I mean, they're doing other things for a living than what they were going to school for, and what they were always talked about what they wanted to do and dreamt of doing. And it's because they don't work hard. It's not because they couldn't do it, or they're not talented, or they don't have the connections or the money or whatever. It's simply because they don't work hard. And I mean, I know bands in Boston that they're incredibly talented, have really good music, and I'm like a fan, but they'll get inspired to, they'll see something, get inspired, and like, all right, we got to go out and we have to hand out a flyer about our new album to every person in Boston. And then we're going to go to Providence, then we're going to go to New York, and we're going to put it under every windshield wiper, and and they're like, go crazy for a weekend. And it's like, man, if you guys did that every weekend, for a year or 6 months, like, sure, you'd be selling out bigger and bigger venues, and you'd be, doing a lot better. But because they're not doing that, they get inspired for a weekend, and then they don't do it again for another year, nothing's happening. And so persistence is absolutely key. Persistence and hard work kind of go hand in hand, but because you can't just work hard for a day and then you're a star, I mean, it's taken me a long, long time to even get to where I am right now. And there have been a few videos that blew up, but I mean, it's basically been like a little blip at first, and then it kind of goes, and then another one, and then it kind of goes, So it's, I mean, if I just quit if I had quit because I didn't have a big video for like a little over a year, and I wouldn't have ever put out Trap Queen, and it got 8 million views on Facebook. And then if that hadn't done well, if I'd stopped before that, then I wouldn't have waited a couple months later and put out 679. That's 13.5 million views. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about persistence and working hard and not stopping. Obviously, you can give yourself breaks, like everyone has to, but just working hard and not letting yourself. Also, when you start to get any kind of moderate amount of success, not to let yourself take breaks too. Especially that's what can get hard, is when you're like, finally things are starting to happen. That's when you have to work like just a crazy person. You have to work insanely hard.
Yeah, I got to keep up that momentum.
Yeah.
And for the youth that are still trying to figure out their purpose, where's the best place for them to start?
There's a guy on YouTube named Casey Neistat. He's a filmmaker I've followed for several years now. And I wish I could remember the name of the video so that like people seeing this could just look it up. But if you go to his channel, I want to say it's, if you look up like Casey Neistat, which is Neistat, Casey Neistat, like purpose or purpose in life or something like that. He has a video that he touches on this, and I really liked what he said, because I when people ask me that, it's such a hard question to answer, just because I've played music since I was 4 years old, and I didn't realize that it was like my passion. And well, I knew I was passionate about it, but I don't know, I didn't realize that that was really what I was going to just like spend all day every day doing until just 2 or 3 years ago, really. And not to this extent, at least, you know. But so it's hard for me to answer that question myself, because from my experience, I don't know. But what he said was, he's like, try things, and he's like, there's nothing that he used to be a dishwasher at a restaurant, and he had a kid at the time. He was like 19 years old with this little kid, single parent, and he had these he didn't know what he wanted to do for a living, and he's just like, this sucks, life sucks. And so he said he was a dishwasher, and he said there's nothing that'll help you figure out what you want to do with your life more than just being at a horrible, just terrible job that you hate. And he's like, all day long you're going to be thinking about what you wish you were doing instead. And that's definitely the truth. When I was working at Starbucks several years ago, all day long I'd be giving these guys their non-fat, extra hot, skim, whatever, you know, lattes, and they'd be screaming at me because there was foam on top. I'm like, sorry about the bubbles. And, you know, I would get so mad. Because, you know, I'm over here, and let's say I was like 20 at the time. So I had played violin for 16 years and was at the top music school in the country. And here I am making lattes, you know? And so I was like, the whole time I'm there working, all I thought about was, man, I should be like practicing, or I should be doing a recording session. I should be like doing sound check for a show right now. And so I think Casey was definitely right about that. I think that's, if you don't know what you want to do or what you're meant to do, just get a horrible job that you hate. And yeah, after working there for a couple months, you'll definitely know what you wish you were doing.
It'll be clear as day.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want people to ultimately say about your music?
That is the best violin music they've ever heard. I think when most people think of violin, they think of classical music. And me personally, I don't listen to classical music at all, because classical violinists that see this are gonna like hate me now. But I just think classical music is so boring. It's so dull and boring most of the time. There are definitely exceptions, and it's beautiful. It's just when you think of, you know, typical like classical or just typical violin music, it's not something you're gonna like put on when you're like getting ready to go out, or like, you know, like if you're like, I don't know, doing something for the weekend, whatever. Like you're not, if you're driving to even like on a date or something, like you're not gonna put that on. Like you're not ever. So I want that to, exactly. I want my music to be something that people are like, you know, oh, it's having this party, and I put, you know, your record on, and people were like going nuts. They loved it, you know. Like I want it to be some. I mean, there are a few DJs around the country that have like shot me emails. They're like, hey, you know, can you send me whatever track? Like I want to play it in my set. And then they do, and they're like, oh, dude, people love it. So like that's what I want. I want it to be something that people want to like party to, not something that people want to go to sleep to.
Okay, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
An old man.
No.
Probably trying to figure out how on earth every other touring musician has a family and tours. That's probably where I'll be. I'll be like, I'll be on FaceTime with like, you know, with a little baby on the other side. You're how old now? Oh, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, probably.
So you want to get married and have children one day?
That is gonna be the hardest thing in the world though. Like touring and being away. Can you imagine? But I mean, there's so many artists with families that do like world tours, So there's got to be a way. I don't know how. I'm not worrying about that yet, but yeah, I definitely want to have a family for sure though.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Well, that was all the questions that we had for you. So we really appreciate your time, and you're hilarious. So we really enjoy
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. You have a great day.
Bye. See you guys.
Bye. Bye.